existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion from all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady, determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanness, and freedom from envy, and from the passion of honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belongs to godly men endowed with divine nature.
Excellent. Very good. So we have covered a lot of these qualities already. We have come to charity we did, self-control we did.
Ahimsa also we did.
Swadhyaya. No, this is sacrifice not done. Done.
We're up to the paragraph where it says the word changes.
Yes. Akrodha
Yeah,
also
that's
we
we
did.
discussed last time.
Last two
Yeah.
paragraphs.
Couldn't be covered, yeah. Word Tejas, okay. Raghunath, anything?
The word Tejas used here is meant for the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas should always be very strong to be able to give protection to the weak. They should not purse themselves as non-violent. If violence is required, they must exhibit it. But a person who is able to curb down his enemy may, under certain conditions, show forgiveness. He may excuse minor offences.
So Tejas. What is the meaning of Tejas? Word for meaning?
Vigor.
Yeah. So what does Prabhupada say about Tejas?
It says it's meant for Kshatriyas where they have to be very strong and should protect the weak, but at the same time, they can't. They're allowed to forgive people with minor offences, which once was shown by Parikshit Maharaj with Kali. But even though it was not minor offences, he forgive.
He didn't forgive. Straight
Like in
away.
the sense, yeah, until
He forgave with conditions. Put conditions. Okay, carry on. Krishna. Yes, I agree.
Probably is answering the question.
And I said I agree.
and they should also not pose themselves as non-violent. An example that Prabhupada often gives is Mahatma Gandhi. He thought that the whole of Bhagavad Gita is non-violent, but the first verse itself is talking about war. So even though Arjuna was wanting to go away from the battlefield, trying to be non-violent, but Krishna is also addressing this here. It's just being strong as a Kshatriya is good, and you should impose yourself on being
Very good. Any other points about Tejas? Vigor.
Forgiveness in Draupadi is forgiving.
Yeah. Draupadi. Ashwatthama killed the 5 sons of Draupadi, but still he was willing to forgive. She was willing to forgive him. Very good. Any other points?
King Ambaresh.
Ramesh Maharaj is willing to forgive Duratman. When the Duratman offended him, he was not. He was still taking offense. Last time Bhakti-Rasam Maharaj had come, he told example of Prithviraj Chauhan. He forgave Mamad Gauri 17 times. Right? On this chapter, this week. 18 times he repeated it. And he asked Mamad Gauri, now you should forgive me this time. He said, I am not a fool like you. And the whole country was ripped apart by Mamad Gauri. This is the wrong place to show forgiveness. Papa says that minor offenses may be forgiven. But when someone is coming with the intention to destroy the whole nation, one should not show forgiveness. That's the wrong place to show forgiveness. It's like Gandhi is showing ahimsa. That is not the principle of Bhagavad Gita. This also is misunderstood in Russia. The Russian Orthodox Church, they tried to ban the Bhagavad Gita because they said that Bhagavad Gita is teaching violence. Let's come to the class.
She likes little children.
Aniket, you sit here. I won't see you. Come here. You study in the class. Come here.
Wants to play.
You sit there. The next word and
We're going to go to next verse soon. We need you. Next verse comes soon. We almost finished. Children are attractive. Everybody children are more attractive. Yeah, so the violence is required has to be used. But it can be misunderstood, right? One can go to the other extreme and say Bhagavad Gita preaches violence, so we should be intolerant and kill anyone who opposes Bhagavad Gita. This was the order given by so many religions. Intolerance, religious intolerance. They feel that their way is the only right way and anybody else should be killed. This is the kind of fanaticism that comes forward because of misunderstanding. So violence is required when it comes to protecting dharma. At the same time, one should not misuse the violence. Similarly, if a man commits murder, the punishment is capital punishment. One should not be afraid to give capital punishment to a murderer. Because why is capital punishment recommended in the Manu Samhita?
otherwise that person has to suffer that action.
Correct. The person has to suffer for the karma. The government doesn't punish him there and then, the karma will carry forward. So we're actually causing more problems for that person. Unless that person turns around and becomes a devotee, then it's a different matter. But if he's not, he's going to live longer and commit more sinful activities. It's not going to help the person. So while it appears controversial, there is good reason to support capital punishment. So violence has a place, just like everything else. Fire has a place. Fire can be used for cooking. Fire can be used for burning a house. So is fire good or bad? Depends how it's used, yeah. So anything used in Krishna's service becomes useful, otherwise it is useless. So similarly here also tejas, vigor, to give protection, that is important. If we don't do that, then we are not performing our duty. So Arjuna's original doubt was, if I fight and kill, I'll get sin. Krishna's argument is, if you neglect your duty as a Kshatriya, you will get sin. That is more important. Yeah. Any other points, any questions on this? Seems pretty straightforward.
Prabhu, as all examples are here that Draupadi forgave Ashwatthama,
Ah,
but these are not the minor offenses.
yes, that is there. It shows Draupadi's her greatness, her compassion. She thought if Ashwatthama is killed, then his mother, who's already lost her husband Dronacharya, now is going to lose son also. How will she live? As a woman, she thought of another woman, how she's feeling already loss of a husband. Her son is the only one left in her family. If he also is killed, then what she'll do? Out of compassion for can close one of them maybe? Maybe turn the lights on then, yeah.
But because even Draupadi forgave Ashwatthama, after that also he tried to kill the last
Yes.
Ansha of the Pandava.
Yeah.
So he was not eligible for that forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
Yes, that is our calculation, but Krishna has a different plan.
Yes, that's true.
Now he's going to become Vyasdev in his next life. So he's got a big job for him ahead. Because he served Arjuna once. I think I told the story, right? Arjuna once he served him prasadam. She- Okay. So unless these conditions are properly understood, Draupadi's case, she forgave on her behalf. See, one can forgive, that's the next topic anyway, forgiveness. One can forgive to the extent that one is capable of forgiving. And one should not forgive offenses to others. Offense to yourself, you can forgive to whatever extent you can. Of course, there is no such thing as not forgiving, but there might be some action have to be taken, counteraction, something have to counteract that. But forgiveness, as far as one can possible, one should tolerate it. But others should not tolerate. So our tendency is if I am insulted, I get angry. If somebody else is insulted, I don't care. that is a conditioned soul. But it should be the other way around. Our offense we should tolerate, and others' offense we should not tolerate.
In one of the lecture I heard,
In the microphone.
I'm not sure which lecture was that. If you don't forgive others, then how do you expect Krishna to forgive you?
Correct. What I'm saying is some forgiveness means I'm talking of corrective action. Now the government, the king should have killed Ashwatthama or not, that's the question. Now Draupadi said no, he should be forgiven. So based on the Draupadi's forgiveness, Arjuna also agreed. But Krishna told no, you should kill him. Krishna said that time. So Arjuna was in a dilemma. Wife is saying don't kill. Guru is saying, the Lord is saying you should kill. Who he should follow? She is a Vaishnavi and he is the Lord. Then Krishna gave him a solution. He said, you half shave him. That's equal to killing because he'll be insulted. That's like death for a Kshatriya. At the same time, don't kill his body. So you are listening to Draupadi and you are following my instruction also. So Krishna solves the problem that way. Because punishment was required for killing 5 children in the sleep is absolutely horrendous kind of crime. So he was punished, but not with capital punishment in that instance. But for a Kshatriya, insult is worse than death. So in one sense he is punished more. One who dies will die honorably. Okay, I made a mistake, I am being punished, I am going to die, that's it. That is more honorable. But to be allowed to live and face lifelong insult is even more greater punishment actually. So when I say that forgiveness is good from our point of view, but the government or the authorities cannot forgive all the time. If they do that, they are promoting adharma. And that's a wrong message being sent out. So Duryodhana had to be killed. The Kauravas, all of them had to be killed. Ashwatthama is a special case. Very unique case. So he was allowed to live, but with this punishment. So Parikshit Maharaj also, which Jagannath Prabhu mentioned, he gave conditions. He said, yes, I'll give you ashraya, but only where there's meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex going on. In those places only you can reside. He didn't say, oh, welcome, visa stamp, going. His passport was checked very thoroughly. And he was doing not a minor offense, it was a serious offense. Harming a cow or a bull is a very serious offense. He wasn't given the freedom to come and go. But then Kali Purusha's worry was also very tricky. He said, no, I have come to you for shelter. Even if I am a criminal, you have to give me shelter. So again, Parikshit Maharaj was caught into a situation. He didn't want Kali Purusha to come. But ultimately it was the will of Krishna that Kali Yuga had to start. Krishna that's why left. He knew if I am there, Kali Yuga won't start. So Krishna left, opening the door for Kali to come. Because Kali Yuga has to be there. After Dwapara Yuga, there must be Kali Yuga. That is Krishna's plan. And Kali Yuga, Krishna wanted to give the process, simplified process through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that was Krishna's big plan. Yes, Kali Yuga is bad. Yes, there is a lot of faults. Kalayar Doshani De Rajan Asti Ek Mahan Guna. Kirtana Deva Krishna Se Mukta Sangha Param Rajan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to come and give the Sankirtan. So there is a bigger plan. Parikshit Maharaj was killed, died of snake bite, but Bhagavatam was spoken. So behind every action there is a Lord's plan. In our lives also, when we have difficulties, we question the Lord, why is this happening to me? But if we have the faith, then we know this is something good in this for me. Either I have to learn something or something will come out of this. So I should tolerate this. Tam titiksha sabharad. Easy to say that, not easy to do. But this is a Daivi quality, divine quality, a saintly quality. To be able to forgive, to be able to tolerate. If one is not able to, then one should ask help according to one's ability.
As a devotee, Prabhu, we should be forgiving anything if any
Yes,
offenses
yes,
is made
yes,
to us.
yes. To us it should be forgiving. But on behalf of the community, you may have to do differently. Sometimes someone, is accused of child abuse or some activity which is improper, they may have to be banned from the temple. Domestic violence, they are banned from temple. That's required. It's not a very pleasant decision to take, but authorities have to. Otherwise, next time someone does, they feel, oh, here I can come and hide. That's what now ISIS, this is the problem. So many countries are giving shelter to them. While they themselves are not doing it, but they are giving shelter, thinking that they are doing the right thing. Now that means accessory to crime. They are also implicated now. So as an authority, you have to be very careful. As an individual level, yes, we should forgive. But as authority, you should not forgive. One can excuse minor offences, Prabhupada said. But if it's serious offence, then there has to be some action taken so that in future others don't do the same thing. In the Vedic culture, Prabhupada said, if someone stole, thief, his hand was cut off. That may be very harsh, but it stopped criminals for sure. Prabhupada said in Kashmir, even 50 years ago, people would keep the house door open and go. They would go out and nobody in the house is open. Because then no one dares to come. No thief would come and steal. They were so confident because of this law. So if law and order is not there, government becomes weak, Kshatriyas are weak, then people will take advantage. That's why Sikhism came in India, because the Kshatriyas were polluted, corrupted by the Brahmanas. Brahmanas said, by birth you will be Kshatriya. But a person not qualified, he can't stand up, he is going to fight. How is he going to fight? So our whole army, the defense system was affected. When Brahmins got corrupted, they gave bad advice to the Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas were not properly guided, misguided. They were not able to do the duty properly. The whole country was endangered. So by accepting Mayavad philosophy, that's where the Mayavad philosophy came and disturbed the whole system. You are all God now, finished. No need to do anything. So whether you go to temple or go to a movie, it's the same thing. Vivekananda writes, so playing football is as good as going to temple. He said, yes, you can realize God by playing football also. He actually writes, I was shocked when I used to read that. I never could understand how can someone speak like this. Supposed to be a great Swami. But he says, you can realize God by playing football. Which Acharya in this world has said you can realize God by playing football? But unfortunately, people who posing as great authorities, they present this philosophy, which is bogus. And as a result, people are watching movies. And from movies to internet to so many things now. Because it's all illusion, it's all Maya. So they go to temple, you chant Hare Krishna, or you watch a movie, it's all the same. So you can do what you want. You are Narayan after all. You can do no wrong. So why was the question of punishment? So the whole dharma gets corrupted. That's why Prabhupada spoke, and all acharyas spoke strongly against Maya philosophy. Right? Then we had something, and the next year.
I just have a question about Tejas, but extended further. It says here the Kshatriyas should always be very strong to be able to give protection when required. If violence is required, they must exhibit it. I was just wondering, let's say you apply that to something other than a government giving protection, like let's say it's a devotee who's dealing with people at work, or let's say you're trying to buy a house. And devotees are always taught to be humble and, like this and folded hands and all that. But then when it's time to buy a house, you have to be a lion. You have to know how to bargain. You have to know how to be strong. But sometimes it's difficult for devotees to do that. Someone asked the same question when Devamrita Maharaj did the whole program.
Yeah.
They were saying devotees are taught to be humble, but when you need to be the opposite of that, you feel a kind of schizophrenia, like you're trying to be a humble person, but on the outside you're trying to be a lion, and you can't bring yourself to do that because now maybe you used to be like that, but ever since you became a devotee, you tried being humble so much that now if you try and be a lion again, it's against your nature. You can't.
A dual personality.
It's against your nature. You just can't bring yourself to do it.
Yeah.
So, how can you do that? How can you exhibit it when required if it's now not in your nature anymore, or you have to be tough but you can't anymore?
You can always take the help of a Kshatriya.
Like at work.
Yeah, take help from a person wherever it may be required. The idea is Vaishnavas are not attached to non-violence. That's the point. They're not attached to being non-violent, nor are they attached to violence. Rather, they are attached to pleasing Krishna. They are more interested in pleasing Krishna. So they are not interested in either violence or non-violence. That's not their. See, this is where the difficulty comes. The idea has to be to please Krishna. If you can't please Krishna, then violence has got no use. Similarly, non-violence has no use. So for Krishna's sake, a devotee is prepared to anything. Like Arjuna at the end of the Gita is prepared to fight for Krishna. Not for Kshatriya, not for karma, not for Gyan, not for any other reason, except that Krishna wants it. So unless you come to that platform, how to please Krishna in every situation, then Krishna will give the necessary strength to negotiate, to bargain, to do whatever it takes to get the job done. Otherwise, Prabhupada told a devotee, you go and publish Back to Godhead. Now, a devotee had never had any idea how to publish a magazine. He said, what am I going to do? Where am I going to start? I don't even know what it is. Prabhupada said, you do it, Krishna will help you. And that devotee learned how to get, type things, manuscript typed, and typesetting, and printing press, and publications, and photos, and this and that. He learned everything. So the ability comes from faith in Krishna. So if the need is there to be strong, then he can be strong where it's required. Where it's not required, unnecessarily one should not do. Out of false ego, one shouldn't use strength. Yes, a devotee is non-violent, that's true by default. But where necessary, a devotee is prepared to exhibit violence or get angry or seem to be angry. It's like Hanuman, he didn't go peacefully to Lanka and come back as a messenger. He said, Ravan is attacking me, I'll attack back. You're supposed to give respect to a messenger. Ravan didn't follow that etiquette. Then Hanuman said, I won't follow the etiquette either. Abhimanyu was killed in an unfair way. And Krishna said, don't follow etiquettes now. You go and attack them in an unfair way. Yes, Jagannath Prabhu?
When Jitendra Prabhu asked this question, I was thinking of Prabhupada and how he got angry, like a lion sometimes. Especially when you're cheated, like in the Bombay land when they were... Yeah. So, like, the most humble person in our movement is Prabhupada, if you think about it. And during that time, he just raged at the landowners for asking more and more money. So, and Prabhupada in one of his lectures, he mentioned that even being cheated is in Maya, being in Maya. So
that's right.
So with that purpose, you can I mean, I understand like being very humble and then trying to get that anger mode out is hard. But
my point is that it sounds good on paper, theoretically, like you should be humble with devotees, but then if necessary, you should be tough. It sounds good, but then when it actually comes to being that way, it's a different story because you're trained in one way.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, see, that's what I'm saying, for pleasure of Krishna one should be prepared, one should not be attached to being one way or the other.
No, I don't mean in terms of attachment, I mean in terms of
ability.
one's nature. It's your nature's been changed.
Even nature also, one has to do the needful. Whatever it is a kind of conditioning. See, earlier we were conditioned to be aggressive and rough and short-tempered. Now, because of devotion service, we have been conditioned to, I shouldn't call it conditioning, but we are accustomed to being non-violent. But where violence is necessary or aggressive behavior is necessary, Krishna will empower the devotee.
So when you're in that kind of situation,
Yes.
you should pray to Krishna
Yes.
to give you that strength.
In every situation, including that one. So the whole point is to please Krishna, not to be aggressive or to be non-violent. That is not the point. See, we are so attached to, we are so also conditioned thinking that non-violence is great. Subtly we are conditioned like that. So because we have come from violent background to non-violent background now, we are thinking that now I'm better off. Yes, that is better off in 9 out of 10 situations, but one situation that may not be right. So a devotee is always sensitive to what Krishna wants me to do. And you pray to Krishna, please give me the necessary strength to do what I have to do. Make a tough decision. Some devotee has to be banned from the temple, that has to be done, It's not a popular decision. It's going to come with a lot of more, there'll be more repercussions, ramifications. That means there'll be enmity, animosity. There's going to be things like that going to come. But then, at the same time we have zero tolerance on domestic violence. That's the policy. That's the law of the land, that's the law of ISKCON. We have to follow that law. So that person is going to create a lot of problems afterwards. We know that. But what to do? That has to be done. Not out of revenge, but out of necessity to protect the community. So Kshatriyas have to do that. As individuals also we have to do that. If we allow, like he said, Prabhupada said in that context of Bombay, he says that it's Maya to allow to be cheated. Because Giriraj Maharaj first thought of being non-violent, he gave it up. He gave the land back to the owner. He surrendered it. Prabhupada was so furious. Why did he give it up? So no, Prabhupada is too hard, it's too many odds against us. We can't make it, it's not for us. It's not meant to be. Krishna didn't want it. Like that they start preaching to Prabhupada that Krishna doesn't want it. If so hard means Krishna doesn't want it. Indication of Krishna, we shouldn't go for it, should go somewhere else. In some cases that would be right. But in this case Prabhupada said, no, I want that very land. Or other aspiri. So again we can take guidance, take help. If you can't do it on your own, take a friend with you who can negotiate with the car salesman, who knows cars and who knows how to negotiate better on your behalf. Actually you can hire people to do that.
Even in places like work, you can't always have your friend behind you to do the same.
Correct, you have to fight yourself. Yeah, that's true. But then pray to Krishna in any case, no. Even if you are taking help of a friend, you have to pray to Krishna to give the right friend who will help you the right way. Sometimes people may help you and they do worse for you. What's the guarantee? So dependence on Krishna is a guarantee, anything else is not a guarantee. Yes, Jagannath?
like We can't really say because your nature's become like you're accustomed to be humble. You can't say that the anger within you is not there anymore, right? Because like just like if you can say the quality of fire is within a tree, but it's just not showing outside. But during the right condition, it does burn. So even though you're accustomed to being humble, the quality of anger is within you. It's just controlled.
Yeah, it's not that it's been extinguished. I just mean that the majority, the way you usually deal with others is supposed to be in a humble way, and then when you have to do the opposite, that 1 out of 10 times feels unnatural to you.
But if it's for the right purpose, it won't feel unnatural. Just like Krishna is saying, Tadami buddhi yogantam. So if you are surrendered to him, he'll give you the right knowledge and intelligence to use it in the right way, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we depend on that. We should not be attached to either being violent or non-violent. Rather, let Krishna take over and you decide. Shanmukhi?
Srila Prabhupada would also haggle. And to an onlooker, it would seem, my God, why is he haggling for just a few paisa with those daab vendors, those elani, what do you call it, tender coconut vendors and all. So it's not that, Prabhupada is pure Vaishnava, so he should not haggle. He was saving Krishna's money and he was showing his disciples how not to get cheated, especially when he took his Western devotees to India. And you know how they get cheated in India. So people are out there to cheat you because when they'll see your vulnerability and they'll cheat you. So Prabhupada was teaching, no, you should not get cheated. Even I'm like that. For me at least Prabhu is there. So I don't know how to do it, he is there to do it. So I'm saved. But when I have to really put my foot down and say no, it's completely against my nature. But then if you don't do it, there are so many consequences. And those consequences are not dear to Krishna. So it's better you say it. Krishna wants you to do it, you do it. Yeah.
There's one more.
I have a similar, like, he's correct what he's saying, that, you know, I can feel what he wants to say. Because even I've experienced like this within the devotees, like, you know, because I come from, like, I'm a very angry person. So when I come to this community, I don't see like myself, you know, in that state, because everyone is so nice to me and everyone is into devotion. So I feel like, okay, I'm also going into that flow. I'm trying to just control my anger. But thing is, like, when something happens within the devotees, as like Mahatma Prabhu's seminar, we have to forgive them. So there's a lot of contradiction, right, Prabhu, what you're saying, like, you know, suppose something happens, then you have to go against, because something is not going right with yourself. And you feel like that devotee, even though devotee is very senior or something, whatever, you know, he's already elevated, something happens and then you can feel that something is going wrong and someone is doing wrong with you. So how you can just then, you're saying that you have to defeat for yourself. Then again, there is the bottom line, you can't defend for that person. You know, you don't have to defend that person, or you don't have to create an offense. So how you can just manage that?
That's why you take help, you know.
That's
why I'm saying you take help, you know. Take help.
Very difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult. But if you try to take the law in your own hands, it will be difficult. But if you take help, you know, there are other devotees you can approach and say that I need help. Because if you don't ask for help, then you try to do on your own, it will be difficult. Of course, it's difficult.
Because also recent, what we have experienced, like me and my Prabhu, before Krishna conscious, we were like, you know, okay, we can fight or something. But after Krishna consciousness community, like we have within, like, in 2009 we came here. So after then we had like family problems, and I'm just openly telling, like, you know, what we discussed, we also discussed with you, that we can't go ahead and do what actually like other people would do, you know, like fight or, you know, just pull your hair or something. We can't do that because something is going wrong and someone is trying to kill us, or someone is trying to defend, like, you know, beat us. Still we don't feel beating back to them. We feel like we can do whatever is right, actually legally. That's what we try to do. Like recently, we have already discussed that with many devotees. But this is what we have come to that. And that time, I don't know, just maybe Krishna has controlled us, because we are at least little bit chanting or something. No, we are not chanting attentively, but at least someone was there to control us, not to go beyond that limit, so we could create a criminal offense or something.
So that's
We
why
were at that limit. So we were not in our own this, like no, stop. We will do. अगर ये किया तो ऐसे होगा. We were not thinking that, but we were trying to. My Prabhu has that experience, and he was like he couldn't do what he used to do before Krishna consciousness. Now he could do. He said, I couldn't do that, because someone was controlling. Stop here. So this is I can feel what he wants to say. There,
yeah.
It's very difficult
It
to
is
go
difficult.
in that nature what we were there before.
But you see, it becomes possible when you take help. Like Arjuna also is facing the same dilemma. It's no less, much worse in fact. Millions of people are going to die based on the decision. Correct? You were talking about one family. You were talking about millions of families. Millions. Very major decision. Right? You can't think of a more serious decision than Arjuna's. I'm sure you'll agree. Whatever our problems may be, the seriousness of a problem cannot be more than what Arjuna was faced with. So what did he do? He took help of Krishna. Shishastem shadimam pam prapannam. He took help. So we should also be taking help, not making our own decisions. If we make our own decision, there is a chance that we could get it wrong. I know even our decision is based on Sadhu and Shastra, we discuss it, we do that. That is there, but we could be wrong. So that's why it's good to take advice. That's why Prabhupada formed a governing body commission, GBC, not one person, a body. Body can't go wrong. One person may go wrong, two may go wrong. Sometimes even body goes wrong. Then they have to correct it. Like they introduced the zonal acharya system at one time. Not all GBCs agreed to that. Some of them were very strong. They pushed that resolution and made it that only Australia, only one guru is there. That's it. Anybody in Australia has taken initiative from the same guru, whether like or not. And they can't take initiative from any other guru. Other guru can't come here and make disciples. And what would happen if a devotee got transferred from one zone to other? Then he is another zone. Complicated. That is not what Prabhupada wanted. But due to the force of some GBC members, they got a resolution through which was incorrect. But later on they realized that that was incorrect. And those who pushed that resolution, finally they left. And others who were not in agreement with that, but they were a minority, then they suddenly realized this is not what Prabhupada wanted. So the GBC body apologized and they corrected it. Said, no, we made a mistake. We're sorry for that. Now we'll get it right. So at that level also it happens. No? So we should not think, oh, I'm stupid or I'm incompetent or I'm ignorant, that's why I'm doing it. It happens to everyone. So all this is highlighting it to us is the dependence on Krishna. We should depend on Krishna very, very deep, at a deeper level, not superficially. Pray to Krishna, please guide me. Please give me the right intelligence. I want to do the right thing. I don't want to do, supposing my heart is saying go and take revenge, I should not do that to satisfy my ego. My ego is saying go and take revenge. Or my ego is saying I am considered a good devotee, a senior devotee, I should not act like this, otherwise my reputation will be spoilt. Then you do the wrong thing by not taking action where action should have been taken. You let someone do something wrong, the idea that you'll become popular. This always happens when Guru is there. Guru Maharaj is there, he is taking rest, and a devotee wants to see him. If I let him see Guru Maharaj won't get sleep, his health will be affected. But if I stop the devotee, he'll make me enmity for life. Think, oh, for me only you did this. So you face the situation all the time. Isn't it? But these situations are there to make us more dependent on Krishna. Not on our intelligence, not on our abilities, not on our vigor, tejas. If you're strong, it's a problem. If you're weak, it's another kind of problem. Strong in the problem is you misuse your strength. If you're weak, the danger is you may succumb to your weakness. You won't be strong where you have to be. So all situations are there to train us to become dependent on Krishna. And that is where we are not comfortable, because our trust in Krishna is not sufficiently developed. Our faith in Krishna is not sufficient. Faith in Krishna gets stronger. As it gets stronger, we depend more and more on Krishna. My Lord, if I have to be humiliated in this situation, let me face it. Or let me do the right thing for your pleasure. Not what is in my comfort zone or what I feel I should be doing. Because we are so attached to right and wrong. We are so judgmental in our dealings. We have opinions for everything. Even though I am insignificant, I have opinion about everything. Now who am I to have opinions? Rather I should consult elders and sadhu, shastra, guru and ask how should I look at this situation? What is the proper way to understand this situation? Not that, hey, he did wrong, she did wrong. Who am I to say that? That's what happens. We don't read Prabhupada's books, we don't follow Shastra, we end up speculating. And we end up with opinions of devotees. Which is a very great offense. Because devotees take action based on certain actions. There's a way to deal with that. We can't sit and gossip with our friends saying, oh no, that decision they took was wrong. Who are you? Did you understand the full situation? Why they took the decision? Even if the decision is wrong, you have no right to comment on that. Because we are not qualified to speak in that situation. If you are related to that, if you are connected to you, then you can talk about it. If you are authorized to speak, then you can't. Or we can go and ask the authority, you taken this decision, why you have taken this decision? I am not able to understand. Like Arjuna says, how am I to understand that you spoke the science of Gita to sun god who is senior to you by birth? He says, how am I to understand? Not that, hey, you are a rascal, you are nonsense, you did this wrong, I don't like this. I don't like, big deal. ISKCON is not running for you. Not for me. Right? So we have to be very careful when you do this. So that's why the approach, the humility, humble means willing to listen. Okay, I don't know. This is what I feel. That's all right. I feel like this. I could be wrong. Now please correct me. And this should be there not only for younger devotees, even for senior devotees also should have the same attitude. That I am not all knowing, all perfect. I know exactly what I am doing. Just follow me. Don't question me. No. Yudhishthira Maharaj always asked all his brothers, what should I do? What is your opinion? What do you advise? Each one would speak. Youngest would speak first. There is also an etiquette in that. So that the elder person speaks first, the younger one corrects the elder one. That's also not good. Means the youngest speak first. And then the elder, then the elder, then the eldest. Then finally he asks Kunti also sometimes. And he will make a final decision. Okay, I have heard all of you now. I think this is the best way to go. Now that could be right, that could be wrong. We have to then follow. We should not then say, but he didn't agree with me, so I don't like the idea. He should agree with me. He took her idea. He didn't take my idea. This happens, right? So that means we are operating on a false ego platform. So this decision to fight or argue or be strong, it comes from Krishna. The ability comes from Krishna. The intelligence comes from Krishna. So the dependence on Krishna is a wonderful quality, I can tell you. It's a liberating quality. It's completely liberating. Everything that Krishna does is a wonderful plan. So everything, you see, so many inconveniences are there now. For example, now asking me to stay for another 6 months in New Zealand. If I have to do that, I'm thinking how difficult it will be like this. No house, no address. People ask me, where do you live? I don't know what to say now. She has got one address, I've got another address. Sometimes we see each other on the weekend a little bit, that's it. That's hard, but then in the Westpac Bank, now Bhagavad Gita has started, they want to do Bhakti Vriksha there. Right in the bank it's going on. The meeting rooms are booked, 2 days a week we're doing Bhakti Vriksha there. So, I had no control of that, can't be proud of that, but I'm grateful. Thank you for using me. And in the temple they got another Bhakti Vriksha started. So, and there at least people are more keen. Here, don't care. Some devotees are still cooperating. Some are not cooperating. They're saying, we've got other ideas. But there's, no, tell us what to do, we shall do. Are getting cooperation? So it's easier to train them properly because they're willing to learn. They say, we don't know, we want to learn. So that gives an opportunity to get some encouragement. Always fighting odds and fighting battles is very hard. But in any case, the bottom line is to learn to depend on Krishna. That is the wonderful, beautiful aspect of this whole thing. Learn that, I tell you, that is wonderful. And even the outcome is unfavorable, Krishna has got some plan for me. He is teaching me humility, he's smashing my false ego, smashing my pride. Now see, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, I don't know it's topic or not, but it's related to what we are discussing. He says there are divine qualities and demoniac qualities, right? The demoniac qualities are coming up. The question arises, the acharyas are discussing, should we overcome those demoniac qualities or does Krishna purify us? Understand the question? Very, deep question, isn't it? Some devotees say, no, Krishna will purify us, don't worry. You just keep on doing devotional service. Others says, no, you have to make the effort and pull out the weeds and do all that. So what is the right answer? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, yeah, you know the answer, tell me.
I just heard one of the
Yeah,
class.
yeah.
That time, not related to this, but what they said, like you have to try your best. You can't just depend 100%. You try 100, like you depend on 100%. Krishna wants you to take 2 steps ahead, and then only he will give you the 100% because
Yeah.
he wants you to do the effort.
Yeah,
So
that,
try your
that's
best.
general principle, but you see, Janardhan Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
So, we concluded the Damodar month, and I'm just trying to correlate that the 2 fingers. The rope had a gap of 2 fingers. So first is our endeavor. Only if we endeavor, then Krishna tries to remove all the
Correct.
obstacles.
But Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives another interesting perspective. He says that by performing devotional service, Nashta Prayasha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya, by engaging in Bhagavad Seva, Bhagavatam says, Hare Krishna, will Hare Krishna you soon. Hare Krishna to you soon. You can sit down. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives another interesting version. He says, the bad demonic qualities in us are also represented by demons killed by Krishna and Krishna Leela. Krishna and Balaram, they killed in Krishna Leela. The demons are real, but they also represent demonic qualities. So he says some demons, major demons are killed by Krishna, but Balaram also killed some demons. So Krishna says, I purify them by when they perform Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya. So all the demonic qualities that Krishna kills, he will do by purification. But what Lord Balaram killed, those demons, those qualities are removed by our efforts. There we have to make an effort. Balaram is Adi Guru. So with the help of Guru, we should overcome those qualities. So which are those 2 qualities? Which are 2 demons that Balaram killed? Dhenukasura and Pralambasura. And they represent pride and envy. Pride and envy we have to work on. With the help of Guru, of course, again. But other qualities, by performing devotional service, Krishna will purify. So what you are saying is also very much true. 2 fingers short, we have to make our endeavor is there. But where our endeavor should be focused on, because there are so many demonic qualities. We're going to read in the next few verses, right? There'll be the next, in fact, the rest of the chapter is all demonic qualities only. We have plenty of that. So which one to work? Where do you work? I mean, you start somewhere, like you come to a house, it's complete mess. Where do you clean? Should I clean here, or clean there, or clean that? You are in a big trouble. Our heart is a big mess. So where do you start?
Pray to Balaram, like Nityananda. Kill those qualities. You have to pray first.
Yes, we have to make the effort and pray at the same time. But we have to pray, but make a conscious effort to remove those qualities. And that conscious effort means that in a circumstance, did I show pride or envy? Did I act out of envy? When I took a particular action now, when I said something, did I say it out of envy or pride? Or is it to glorify Krishna and Vaishnavas? Our motivation should be checked, and introspection should be used there to see, am I acting out of pride or envy?
So before killing that, Krishna won't kill himself, all those whatever the...
Krishna, it'll become hard for Krishna to enter into our heart if these are blocking the way. These are like blockages. If these are blocking our heart, then Krishna Bhakti cannot enter. So that's why the Guru's position is very important. Because Adi Guru, Lord Nityananda, Lord Balaram, Nityananda Ram, they work together to help us get rid of those 2 qualities specifically, pride and envy. Because pride is something Krishna does not tolerate in a devotee. Even the gopis he didn't tolerate, even though their pride was so insignificant. So that's why our effort is very much important, but you should know where to direct that effort. Specifically to remove pride and envy. These are 2 qualities. We're reading in Bhagavatam now actually. That comes in the first canto, 6th chapter. If you want, you can read text 26. Prabhupada talks about that. 1:6:26. That's what in Bhakti Vaibhava we're studying just that section now, right now. So that's why our effort is required, but we need to effort under guidance. Every step we need guidance. If we don't take guidance, then we'll be lost. We shouldn't think, oh, no time to ask for guidance, no one has got time to give me guidance. No, we should make the time. We should make the time, make an effort. Say, I need the time, we need to talk about this. And that guidance should be based on Sadhu Shastra Guru. That's why we have to study Prabhupada's books very carefully to understand properly what we should do. Otherwise, small things also we can make a small deviation can lead to a completely different result. For example, if I think that Krishna purifies all my anarthas, I just continue doing my service, that's also not going to work. Another time people say, no, unless you are pure, you can't do devotional service. That is also wrong. They will know, I will chant Hare Krishna when I become pure. Right now I'm meat eating, I'm drinking, so I can't chant Hare Krishna. People say that, isn't it? Let me become pure, then I'll chant Hare Krishna. Let me stop eating meat, then I'll come to the temple. People speak like that. But that is not the right philosophy. At the same time, there are certain areas that we have to work on. Some hard work has to be put in. Just another bro. Microphone.
Prabhu, the question that I have is, like all these qualities, all these demoniac qualities, like can be removed by chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, isn't it?
True,
So,
that's fact.
so that is a process. If we follow that process properly,
Correct.
then we don't even have to think about what demoniac qualities we have.
But two qualities is mentioned by Bhaktivinoda Thakur that we have to work on to remove pride and envy. Those are exceptions to that rule. All other qualities Krishna has said I will remove.
So what you're saying is parallel to the chanting. So these two qualities we have to work.
Yes.
So these two qualities cannot be removed by the
Yes.
chanting.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, no, not like that. Just like if you are watering chanting is like watering the plant, right? You water the plant, but weeds are growing. Now you may say, why the watering is not killing the weeds? No, watering is for the plant, for Bhakti Lata Bij, for the plant of Bhakti. But a gardener has to pull out the weeds. So some effort on our side is required. It's not an automatic process. That's why even acharyas have different opinions. Some of them say that they have the monkey and the mouse philosophy. Now the baby monkey holds on to the mother monkey. And the mother carries the baby, right, jumping from tree to tree. The baby doesn't fall. Baby hangs on to the mother. But the baby has to make the effort. But the other philosophy, they say, Pushti Mark, they say, no, it's like the mouse, like the kitten in the mouth of the cat. The kitten does not make any effort. The cat does the full responsibility for carrying the kitten. Kitten has to do nothing. But that is not our sampradaya. In our line, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in our line, we don't follow that. We say that we have to hang on. We have to make our effort. That's why there's hard work involved. Not to build a temple. Krishna will build a temple. And we can just sit back and relax. No. We have to make the effort. To have a temple to manifest, we have to make an effort. Even if it is not in our lifetime, next generation is going to enjoy the temple. All Bharats and Aniket and Aditya, they are going to enjoy the temple more than us. But still we do our part. Prabhupada left behind 108 temples and said, take this and expand it further. You have to become more. Now we have more than 700 centers around the world. So it's growing by Prabhupada's mercy. So we have to make our effort. But the beauty is when you make the effort and depend on the Lord at the same time, beautiful reciprocation comes from the Lord. When you get the reciprocation, then our faith becomes very strong. Yes, I am not capable. Mukam karoti vachalam. Pangulam langayate girim. Isn't it? By my calculation it can't be done. But Krishna yat kripatamavan Guru. By the mercy of Guru I can do anything.
I have experience of Purushottam month and even this 5 days I did. And
Microphone. Pass the microphone, please. Yeah. Keep that one in the back. Keep this one here.
I'm not capable of doing these months because these days, like,
Yeah.
the fasting, I've never done in my life. Never Nirjala also, but I didn't do Nirjala. But I could do those Purushottam month without getting sick.
There you go.
And I just prayed every day. This is one day I'm going through, and Guru Maharaj gave me this mercy because this is. And after Purushottam, I've started falling sick. So it's just my experience that how you can have a faith on Guru, which is a representative of Krishna.
Correct. That
So,
increase our faith.
This is just my personal experience.
Yeah, sure,
And
very
I
nice.
I can't do now
Yeah.
what I've done those days. So.
Yeah. I mean, everything has to be seen in context. You see, sometimes for somebody's health that may not be the right thing to do. We should not think they're less of a devotee because they're not doing it. You know? Some are not able to do it. When you're in the middle of so many things, I didn't do Bishop Panchaka because I was in the middle of traveling and so many things. But in the younger days, I used to do Nirjal Ekadasi. Every Ekadasi was Nirjal. Every Ekadasi for so many years. But that was some part of my life I could do it. Now it's not advisable. So rather than health getting spoiled and then being sick for 1 week, better to eat a little bit of prasad and carry on with the service. Service is more important than fasting. Clearly Prabhupada has made that clear. So the mission of the Lord is going to be compromised, then I would rather compromise the fasting. But of course, one should make every attempt to do it. If you're staying in one place, if you're not traveling anywhere, and you got the luxury of doing that, then we should do it. Should not ignore it at the same time. At the same time, one should not become proud of doing it. Oh, I have done it. No, who else has not done? Oh, it has fallen. Because unfortunately with this, there's a danger of pride, isn't it? When you achieve something, the risk is of pride. You're a good preacher, you're successful, you're a good book distributor, you're doing very good books distribution. The chance of getting proud is very high. So we are extremely careful to not let that come in the way. How many people have come, they did big service and they went disappeared. We have so many examples of that. But others who have done great service and greater service and become more humble. So we have that also. So we have everything to learn from, right? There's a lot to learn. But thanks for sharing that. It's a very good example. Jiten Prabhu had his hand first, then Dashrath Priya. Dashrath, your mic is coming behind you.
So would you say that it takes practice to develop the quality of being unattached to non-violence and meekness and so forth, and also dependence on Krishna? Because many people have given the example that Prabhupada used to haggle people and he used to be quite aggressive at times and all that.
Yeah.
But the difference is that when Prabhupada did all those things, he'd always remain unaffected.
Correct.
He'd never lose his composure if he did that.
Correct.
Whereas if we try and haggle someone, or I'm not speaking for everybody, but if some people try and haggle or be aggressive or bargain, then they may get the job done. They may do it for Krishna's pleasure, but after doing that, they've lost their composure completely. For the rest of the week, they can't concentrate properly while they're chanting.
That's
The
a good
sadhana
point.
goes
That's
off.
a good point, yeah.
So,
yeah.
would you say that it requires practice to develop those
Yes.
things, to
We
develop?
we should know when to fight and when not to fight. You should pick your battles. That's a fact. You should know when to do that. See, Prabhupada, he bargained with the taxi driver. You know the 40 rupees that we hear about Prabhupada went to America? He came back with the 40 rupees. He didn't change it. And when he went from Delhi station to Chippiwada by taxi, Achyutananda was there that time with him. And the taxiwala was asking for 40 rupees. And Prabhupada said, no, I'm giving only 20 rupees. So this fare is only 20 rupees. And Prabhupada made concession, okay, I'll give you 30 rupees. So I don't want to give all the, these are the 40 rupees I took to America. I want to keep some of it, as a memento. But taxiwala didn't budge. And finally Prabhupada he lost the bargain. He had to give 40 rupees to keep him quiet. Now he was arguing for 10 rupees. 10 rupees was what? $1 or $2 in those days, maximum. But why would a founder Acharya of a great movement haggle for $1? But Prabhupada is demonstrating, like you all said, that importance of caring for money, not being careless, not throwing money, Krishna's money, just spending it very liberally. He was teaching more important things. So Achyutananda was getting very frustrated. And that too, the haggling was happening in Hindi, which Achyutananda didn't understand. He had no clue what's going on. Why is Swami so upset about 10 rupees? Just give it and let's go. Now that's the Western mentality, isn't it? If the price is high, just pay the price. Don't worry about it. Don't haggle. Haggling is Indian type of mentality. Westerners never think of arguing. Whatever price is asked, okay, give it. Trust the person and give it to them. They got cheated in Bombay. But then Prabhupada corrected that situation because they're so naive. Prabhupada teaching those devotees that India got to be different. So in that case, like you said, Prabhupada didn't lose his composure. He was in Krishna consciousness. He was not lost. But if you feel that it's going to disturb your spiritual life, then better not to take that battle. Or take help from someone who can help you in the battle. That's why consulting is very important. This consulting is extremely important, and our false ego prevents us from consulting and make excuse, oh, I was too busy, no time, or no one is there to qualified to guide me. This is too difficult. Nah, these local devotees don't know, they're out of it. Only when Guru Maharaj comes, he can deal with it. I've heard this kind of explanations being given, and we make up our own solution and our own decision, and we act in a certain way. So yeah, we have to be. When Prabhupada one time, Tamal Krishna Maharaj one time, he asked Prabhupada, they were going to buy something. I don't know where it was. Maybe some land somewhere, and the price is very high. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Prabhupada, this is too high price. We can't buy at this price. And Prabhupada's reply in that situation was, if you want something badly, you should be prepared to pay the price for it. He didn't say you should bargain. Totally different situation. It's there in Tamal Krishna Maharaj's book, Servant of Servant. I forget the context where it was and what it was, but I remember clearly when Tamal Krishna Maharaj saying, in a class he told this, if you want something badly, you should be prepared to pay the price for it. And devotees had to pay 22nd Avenue to purchase that back. They paid a princely sum, very big amount of money, way above the cost. Because that man knew it was very significant for ISKCON. They want it badly. He charged 5 times or something ridiculous amount of price. But then devotees said, no, we have to get it. We just can't not have it. It must belong to ISKCON. Same thing in Calcutta also. Even now the life member is fighting with ISKCON because they want a price for that property. So it still happens. Even now they are fighting for it. But then we're trying to negotiate a middle ground. This land, this property is very valuable. They want it badly, so increase the price. Like even in in the floods in Chennai, people are selling bottled water for 100 rupees. People don't have money. They're starving. No, but what was 20 rupees small bottle or something? They're charging 100 rupees. My colleague was telling me, somebody is willing to take advantage of the helplessness of the other person. Such unscrupulous, ruthless people are there. When somebody is in difficulty, they don't have water to drink, they're trying to buy some water, you rip them off, and take advantage of the situation rather than helping. So we get people like that out there. So then one has to bargain. But if someone's life is in danger, you want water, then you pay 200 rupees and get the bottle of water. What to do? Then we'll bargain later, think of bargaining later. So discretion has to be used. Yeah. Maturity. And it requires maturity. Yeah. And sometimes you just have to pay extra money and pay it and get it done. Because something far more important is happening here. But you can't waste time on that. Something more important has to be done in that time. So better to pay it and finish it rather than get on with it and keep on wasting time on that. So there are no straightforward answers to these questions. The examples we can cite for both cases, where Prabhupada compromised and where he didn't compromise. Somebody said, no, you pay the price. Somebody said, no, don't pay the price. So that's why the dependence on Krishna takes care of that. My dear Lord, I'm going to make the decision. This is what I feel like doing. You please guide me. If I'm doing the wrong thing, I'm prepared to face the consequences. If I'm doing the right thing, then it's a pleasure, that's well and good. But I'm completely depending on you. Please guide me. Then at that time, Krishna will either guide you within the heart or he'll send you somebody. Like Sharanmukhi, what she does, she's got Bhagavad Gita card. She opens the card and says which one I should take. Everyone has their own techniques for,
It's amazing how the Lord is.
That's good.
Sometimes you can't understand what Krishna is saying there.
Yeah.
Because obviously all those shlokas are from the Bhagavad Gita. It's not like, okay, you do this and you take that decision. Sometimes I don't know what he's saying because I'm not tuned in. Many times it's so accurate. And of course, because the spiritual solutions to material problems, they'll be on the spiritual plane, meaning that they'll be high. Mostly the thing is tolerate, forgive, isn't it?
Basic.
That's what Krishna will say.
That's the
But
default.
I will want to say, oh Krishna, give me something which will pacify me. So he says, you pacify me, and then you will be pacified. If you pacify me, you will be pacified.
Yeah. So the key criteria is what will please Krishna more. Okay. So Dashrath Priya Prabhu, sorry, you had a hand up. Okay, Srimani. Yeah. Use the microphone.
Prabhu, just on what the point we are discussing, how do we, the mundane daily issues, where we want to do the right thing, how do we relate that to the Lord for the pleasure of Krishna? So let's say, there's some problem at work and I'm trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, okay, I feel that this is what I should do because that's the right thing. But then how do I relate it to the Lord?
Yeah.
And hence I should be more aggressive in
Yeah.
that particular situation, or how do I?
Yeah. In that case, you see, why are you working? That's the first question. Before you answer that question, you ask another question. Why are you working? Why are you going to work?
That we can maintain ourselves and serve the Lord.
Yes. So whatever helps you in that decision has to be taken. If by taking decision I am going to end up with legal costs and big losses and big risk to my career, it may not be worth it. But if it means that no, that's why they say pick your battles, you know you're going to win, there's a good chance you can get something, then go for it. Shouldn't be afraid. But it has to be calculated risk. That's why we need to consult, we need to discuss. Advice from qualified people. And that may not necessarily be devotees. Sometimes devotees, well-meaning devotees give good advice. But that may not be the right thing. Now we are going to do a seminar, most probably January or so, January, February, for all Bhakti-Vriksha leaders, anyone in leadership role. Because you see, we have situations where we get called for domestic violence. What should we do? Should we go there and try to separate the violence? Or no, the rules are very clear. You call the police. You have to lodge a case. If you don't, you become accessory to that crime. Similarly, someone is sick, you shouldn't try to rush to them and try to diagnose them. Oh, maybe I think you should call a doctor. No, call 000. The person looks serious, look doubtful, call 000. If you have a family doctor, you can call straight away, call and ask, should I be calling ambulance or should I wait for tomorrow? In other words, we don't make the decision, we call the right person. Someone is threatening suicide. You don't go and try, I will go and convince her not to do it. No, call the suicide helpline. Of course, you rush to help them, to be there with them, but help has to be taken from the right source. Not us. We shouldn't step in there and say, look at me, I'm a fearless leader, I can deal any situation. No worries, I'm Superman. But at the same time, we don't wash our hands off and say, that's your problem, just leave it. You go with the right help. Either you have to go with sometimes you have to take the police with the police you have to go and help that person. Sometimes with the ambulance you have to go and help that person. Sometimes you have to go and help with some social worker or whatever it may be. What do they call that? Community services and what service do you work? Human services. You might get a human service worker there at a certain point in time. Depends on the situation. You have to know who to call. So there's the government actually, the central government is giving a kit that in this situation what we should do, how we should take proper action. Because if you do the right thing, then you as individual are protected, that person gets the right help, and ISKCON as society is protected. Otherwise I take the law in my own hands, I think you should drink plenty of water and take rest and you'll be alright. No, that may not be the right thing. That may be dangerous. The person's life could be in danger. We try to give some prescription, that may not be the right thing. So anyway, there's a course coming to help in this situation. Sorry, Prabhu, that should be next. Yeah. Use the microphone. Yeah.
I don't know whether it is relevant to this thing, but I am thinking that it is relevant. But you have mentioned here that learn how to depend on Krishna while dealing with different situations and all these things. So His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj, he was asked by his disciple who recently passed away, he was also a sannyasi. So, and he said, Guru Maharaj, I am just doing my devotional service and all these things, but all these anarthas and all these things, I am working on that thing, but still it is there, and all the good qualities also the jiva has. So that is also not manifesting, and because of all these things. So Radha Govind Maharaj mentioned very nicely to him, why you are interfering in Krishna's work. So then this disciple, he asked, I am unable to understand that thing. Then he quoted 18.66. So he said that Sarva Dharmam Paritejya Mamayaka Saranam Braja. That means what we are discussing now, we should always be dependent upon Krishna. Then second, he said, okay, aham tam papabhyam masucho. So that is Krishna's part to take care of all these bad qualities and all these things. He is taking care of that thing and all these things. Okay, why you are worried that I am putting endeavor and still those things are there. When time will come, that will go. But your endeavor should be there.
Continue.
But don't worry. You worry about your devotional service.
Very good. Very nice. Very good answer. See, but there again, that's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, there are some qualities we have to work on ourselves. You know? Our effort has to be there. Not only in devotion service, but also in trying to remove those qualities. Understanding how to eradicate those bad qualities, so that Krishna's mercy can flow smoothly without blockage. Because what he's saying also, that we are interfering, right? So these qualities, pride and envy, they interfere with Krishna's mercy. So they have to be withdrawn. And we have to pray to the Lord to help us to get over those, specifically those two I mentioned. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Yes, Janardhan Prabhu, then Sharanmukhi.
In terms of the process,
Yeah.
in relation to what we are discussing, in terms of the process, for all the other demoniac qualities, we have the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So, in terms of the process for pride and envy removal, what is the best process which is recommended as per Shastra?
In terms of?
To
Okay. Yeah, you see, the counterpart of pride is humility. Okay. And the counterpart of envy is love. Now that's a topic in itself. That's actually the whole seminar on demons killed by Krishna and Balaram in the Leela, Krishna Leela, Vrindavan Leela. That's a whole different... today actually we are more or less discussing that only, 26 qualities of devotees. We are discussing those topics based on our acharyas. But that is a short answer, because I don't think we have time today. Maybe we'll do that next time. Does everyone want to? Are you all interested in discussing that in deeper level? Because these two are our biggest enemies, right? Pride and envy. So maybe we can do that next time. It's a big topic, but if you what's for reference, I can give you short references. Of course, Bhagavatam is full of this topic. First canto, 6th chapter, if you read, there's some references there. When Narada says he becomes free from pride and envy by chanting the holy names of the Lord, as Dasharatha Priya said, and also by rendering service to the devotees. So the basics are still in our bead bag only. There's nowhere else. You go anywhere, you come back to that. Chanting is to be done, attentive chanting as far as possible. You should try and do that. And association of devotees, keeping the association of devotees. 3 things Narada Muni says. By hearing from the Bhaktivedantas, by rendering service to them, and by chanting the holy name, taking the remnants of the prasadam, is able to eradicate those qualities. But then the introspection is required here. You need to know where I have failed and where I succeeded in suppressing my pride and envy. Because see, we have to know how to deal with these qualities. If we don't know how to deal with these qualities, they will backfire on us. Suppressing doesn't help. Suppressing doesn't help.
The other problem is, Prabhu, to not know that we have those demoniac qualities.
That's
that is
right.
a bigger danger.
Yes, again that's why it requires help, you see. We need to have devotees that we can trust and who can help us. That's why Shiksha Guru comes into picture. Diksha Guru is not there every day with you, but Shiksha Guru is very important. They play a very important role in helping the devotees, helping us rather, overcome these unwanted qualities. No? So that's why it is what do they say? It takes a whole village to bring up one child. So it takes a whole community to make one devotee. It's not one person by themselves. It's many things. Like you as a parent, for example, your children. You as a parent, you can only do so much, but the community can do so much. Other devotees can help interact with the children, and other children can also help. We take help from everyone. So we've got spiritual cousins, we've got uncles, we've got aunties, we've got grandfathers, grandparents, parents, all kinds of relationships are there. So everybody is there to help each other. Yeah, but we'll discuss that maybe next time. Pride and envy, what it is. whatever extent I have heard and noted from Prabhupada's books, I'll try to compile it. Next time we can do that. Shamukhi, you had your hand up?
Everything depends on chanting. From our end, we have to try our best. Every day, am I trying to improve my chanting? Am I using any techniques to make it interesting, or am I just doing it as a chore and finally finishing it off? When we on one of this Prabhupada memories, all those the CDs, the set of CDs of Prabhupada memories, anecdotes of a present day saint. That's the caption there. In that, one of the devotees, his Prabhupada's disciples, had asked him, Prabhupada, I have so many doubts in my mind and I don't know whether I'm progressing. So every time I can't ask you, so what else can I do to answer, for getting my questions answered? So Prabhupada said, you chant from the bottom of your heart. I mean, I'm just paraphrasing what Prabhupada said. You will get the answers. Paramatma from inside. The Lord is there in the localized aspect. I'm just elaborating on that. So Krishna is there too. And Burijan Prabhu says, when we start chanting really with our heart and soul, adopting techniques from all those various japa seminars, japa workshops, and all the chanting books. So then, Burijan Prabhu says, it's like putting on the torchlight in a room, a dirty room which has not been cleaned for many, many thousands of years. Then you feel, oh my God, that quality, I didn't even know that I had that quality. Someone asked, first we have to know that quality is there. First I have to, if we are defiant and say, I am not like that, then where is the question of correction? When we come, and how do we come to know that I've got that bad quality? By good chanting. Krishna throws light and says, hey, you've got this. And you become so humiliated, so ashamed of yourself, that then you could go into depression thinking, what's the use? I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so bad and I've remained bad, I don't want to do this. No. Kirtaniya Sadaharihi. That's why Prabhupada said, all our Guru Maharajas have said 16 rounds every day. So every day there is that cleansing happening. And again, Aniruddha Prabhu had said, the temple president of Melbourne, once in his class, he said, when you are going by flight, do you know at what rate, what kilometers per hour or whatever you're going? You don't know, you're just sitting there. But finally you've reached the destination. So also, Krishna consciousness is such a purifying process that as long as you've been sincerely chanting, sincerely doing your services, you have made progress. Again, we can't become very proud saying, oh my God, that time I was there and now I'm here. I am so great. No, what greatness? You are applying yourself to the process? Very good. Krishna will do the cleansing. And instead of becoming proud, you can say, Krishna, I was such a horrible person and you brought me to whatever I am today. Thank you so much. Please keep cleansing like that. And when you make everything interesting, Bhagavata, oh, it's so exciting. Oh my God, what has Prabhupada said here? It's so nice. Look at the Sanskrit, look at the purports. It's so wonderful. And then when we read it in a group, it's so nice. And chanting, when we read nicely, we're wanting to chant nicely. Krishna, your name is so nice. And the qualitatively one with Krishna, Krishna's name when I'm chanting, I'm feeling so close to him because I'm qualitatively one with him. Usually what we tend to do is, we become scared of that qualitatively one. Because we feel, oh, I'll become Mayavadi, I'll become like that. No, that is also important. Quantitatively, we are very small. That will make us humble. But qualitatively, we are one. At least I can talk for myself. All the time scared that, oh my God, if I think that I'm qualitatively one with Krishna, then I'll become a Mayavadi, I'll become a Sahajiya. No, I'm qualitatively one with Krishna. So then when I'm chanting Krishna's names, it's like chanting the name of someone whom you really love. You know him so well that Hare Krishna, so nice. And it's so relishable. Oh, my next round. Otherwise, full debates, finished. Come on, next, what's next? The more important things in life are to be done. Come on now. get into the mode of passion, clean the house, you cook for the... And then Bhakti Charu Maharaj, when we had a darshan with him, he said, Krishna will reveal himself to you when your mind is quiet. When can our mind be quiet? When we have kept some time aside for introspection, saying, Krishna, please can you reveal yourself? Krishna, can you please tell where am I going wrong? Only when we are quiet. And there are so many beautiful sayings about the Mahamantra, whether it is like Sadhu Shastra Guru, no? All so many Vaishnava Acharyas have said the same thing. It could be in your local language. It makes it more appealing because it's your local language and you understand that. And this Jananivas Prabhu, he said, the mind should take rest in the Mahamantra. So I thought if we want to portray that in the form of a picture, you can draw a sofa on which you sleep, and that is the Mahamantra, and the mind, the person called the mind, is resting on that all the time. And I'm taking a little bit longer because we are talking about getting rid of anarthas. There was Sucharu Gaur Prabhu told this. There was one king and invited a genie, and that genie was like a ghost, but a friendly ghost. And that ghost said, okay, I'll come to you, but you have to keep giving me tasks to do. Only then I'll come to you. He said, no worries, I'm a king, there's so much to do. Come. So, and whatever the king is giving him, he's doing it so fast and saying, okay, and the condition was, if you don't give me something to do, if I'm idle, I will strangle you and kill you. And the king had agreed. He thought there's so much to do, okay, he can. But then every task he's doing it so fast and there's nothing to do again. So then the king had to think, oh, I have to be really clever with this genie. He said, make a big pole here, and whenever I don't give you something to do, keep going up and down. So that day, the genie had something to do, and the king was safe. So, and he said, the analogy is, when you don't have something to do, tell the mind, chant now. Go up and down the chanting. You chant nicely, you chant badly, whatever be it. I mean, chant badly in the sense you keep chanting without concentration, with concentration, whatever, it's up and down. But the mind is engaged. You take the mind is taking rest on the Mahamantra. That's the best place to take rest.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're in the school of the mind, like Radha Govind Maharaj says, सुबह उठते ही you go for Mangalarti, you do that. नहीं तो भागवतम classroom में होके अगर you are not hearing the Bhagavatam, you will be in the classroom of your mind.
Yeah.
And the mind is the worst enemy. It's all the time telling you something to make you morose. It doesn't want to see you happy. How horrible, we are living with that. Where else do we have to go outside to search for enemies? It's inside us, the mind. And to curb that, chant. My God, finally it will be so nice if we can really come to that where we chant and there's nothing but Anandambudhi Vardhanam, Ananda. Like Purandaradasa has said, Ananda Vembo Tego Bandaga. Eat the payasa of Ramanama, for which the shakra is sugar, is Krishna Nama, and the tuppa is ghee of Vithala Nama. Mix all that and slurp it nicely and eat. And when you eat, finally, you'll get 3 burps. And each burp is Ananda. When you get that burp, you glorify Ananda Murti, Krishna. Ananda Murti is a Murti of Ananda. So like that time, even Jananivas Prabhu said, let your mind take rest in the Mahamantra. Okay? And his twin brother, Pankajangri Prabhu, he said, all the shlokas, everything that any Acharya has said till now is there in the Mahamantra. See how beautiful. Yeah, anyway, I'll keep on rambling on. Sorry.
Very nice.
For this, Prabhu, Tukaram Maharaj says in his song that Apulachi Vada Apanase, means we are fighting with ourselves only. Our fight is not with someone else, that this person has done this to me, that person. No, this is our fight with ourselves only. So when something is happening with us, we have to sit quietly and try to understand that what is that quality which Krishna is trying to get rid of out of me. So
Mataji, that's okay. This is something that Devamata Maharaj told me personally, and also the brahmacharis, but it was in a brahmachari context on how to remove demonic He mentioned while it was in a brahmachari context, you can use it in any other demonic quality. He said whenever you feel that you're doing something like pride or envy, he said loudly chant the name of Lord Nityananda, but your mouth should be closed and it should be as loud as you can feel your lungs expanding and about to burst. So when you do that, then Lord Nityananda will answer.
Used to chant the holy name at 3 levels. One is Uchchaishvara, very loudly, one is softly, and one in the mind. So he did 192 rounds, 64 rounds very loudly, top of the lungs, 64 softly, and 64 in his mind. It's also described like that. So yeah, loud chanting does help to control the mind. That's a fact. Very good point. Thank you.
Actually, also like Mataji, what she says, every time once you think like if you're trying to work it out on your pride and if you're trying to work it out on your anarthas, Krishna tests you actually little small thing. He puts an example on you and then he tests whether you're ready to come out of it or not. Like in schools, like an example, like in school you have like small test, for exams, like for kids. So if they pass, they go ahead, like, second level or something. So Krishna also puts a small test on you, whether you're ready to control that small part of the pride or something, then you can go to the higher level to remove it. So is that correct, Prabhu? What?
Yeah, that's right.
He just puts an example, like,
something,
situation comes in front of you.
And makes us stronger as well to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a child goes from 3rd standard to 4th standard to 5th standard, that exam gets tougher each time, but also is trained to understand and pass the exam. But Krishna never gives a test that will fail. If we depend on Krishna, he'll make sure we pass. That faith should be there, that yes, Krishna will always give me that quality. So, okay.
Prabhu, all the discussion which was happening about getting rid of anarthas and using the bad qualities, whether we have to use those bad qualities on the work or something. What I was actually trying to understand, are we supposed to actually get rid of it or harness these qualities so that we want to use them when we can?
Yeah, but you see, some qualities like pride and envy you can't. That's why I'm saying there's a counterpart to those, Anger, for example, you can. Anger, for example, you can. But some qualities are hard to harness, Envy, for example, how do you envy? That only have to use the counterpart of that is love for God, love for Krishna. So love for Krishna has to be increased, and that will help us to reduce the envy.
Isn't that we have to use that envy and everything at workplace, like we have to be...
No, that's not envy. So you should never act out of envy. At workplace you are aggressive, you are strong because you are dealing with adharma, injustice, adharma. But dealing with adharma, it is always better to deal from a point of principle rather than because of false ego. See, you have only 2 approaches. Either you do it by principle-based leadership or ego-based leadership. If your leadership is based on ego, then you will make wrong decision. If it's based on principles, certain principles, then you are strong. So you have to understand which principle you are upholding.
But what we actually found out is, if you try to be on the counter on the principles, you are being singled out.
That's why you have to pick your battles. You should know where you can, how much you can fight, where you can fight.
Then if we don't fight, then we have to basically we are not abiding with our principle. Is that what others actually look at it? Because they say, no, you didn't agree with that.
Yeah.
But you followed. That means you are bowing down to those principles.
Well, sometimes pragmatism, discretion is the better part of valor. We're talking of valor today, Tejas. So discretion is the better part of valor. Like Dadant Maharaj says, if a cow comes, you can embrace the cow, but if a tiger comes, you don't embrace the tiger. You make a U-turn. So sometimes it is required to fight it out. Can you please call later?
One month, Mataji, I'll go outside.
It's hard to have two conversations. I'm almost finished, but anyway. So we need to have that discretion when to go ahead with the fight and when not to go ahead with the fight. See, material world is a compromise. We are now, you have the question, the confusion has come because of fearfulness. First quality we read as abhayam, fearless. We are fearful because we identify with the body. This is my body, this is my family. If I don't have a job, I can't take care of them. That fear overrides our decision making and our actions we take. Now, what does fearlessness mean? We read that first quality. Fearlessness means that being not identifying the body, spirit, soul. And what is happening in our life is, that I was hearing, our lifespan of 100 years is 1/8 billionth of a second of Brahma's watch. 1/8 billionth of a second in Brahma's time scale. How significant is that? And in that I have one brawl with my office. In that 100 years, how insignificant this is. But because of fearfulness, that has become a magnanimous proportion that we are prepared to give up a Krishna consciousness to get something there. So we have to look at the big picture. I'm giving general answer without knowing specific situation. Sometimes it's better to, it's like the Prabhupada example of that devotee who was working in a factory which was bought by a Muslim owner. And Muslim owner said, tomorrow onward, no neck beard, no tilak. If you do that, you are fired. The devotee, he continued with tilak and neck beard. And the boss called and said, everybody has followed, why you didn't follow? So that is my principle. If you want me to follow, I will follow, otherwise I am prepared to leave the job. Then that Muslim guy said, okay, from tomorrow you can have tilak and neck beard, nobody else is allowed. He admired him for his principles. No? So like that, there are examples are there where we have stood up for certain principles, where sometimes it's not possible, you have to be quiet. Like when Prabhupada was in the Scottish Church College, his professor told him, our Hindu law of karma is bogus because there is no witness. But Prabhupada in his own mind he knew, Paramatma is witness, this fellow doesn't know. But as an etiquette, he didn't argue with the professor. He just said, in his own mind he explained, no, Paramatma is watching, he doesn't know. But he didn't put up his hand and say, excuse me, it says in our Paramatma is there in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He didn't say that. He just let it go. So sometimes you have to let go, sometimes you have to fight for it. Regardless of what people say, people saying is secondary. We have to see what our principle is, but at the same time, Prabhupada said you have to be intelligent. Like one time they were smuggling books into which country? Some behind the Iron Curtain. And the only way they could find that was, I think I told this once, in the milk powder. Milk powder, they're putting the books and sending it, milk powder packets. And one Hindu gentleman objected, Swamiji, you are teaching the devotees to be dishonest. And Prabhupada said, no, the government is dishonest by not allowing Bhagavad Gita. We are doing the right thing. So even though it appears to be some kind of a cheating, but it has been done for distributing of knowledge, transcendental knowledge. Therefore that was the technique one had to use to get books to people who want it. The devotees who are wanting the books, they want to read the books. But the government is not allowing. So there is no easy answers to this, no straight answers. That's why every situation we need a Shiksha Guru or a Diksha Guru to be with us, to guide us, to take guidance. And as we get more mature, we'll understand how to deal with that, how to deal with it. We will know how to deal with it. Krishna will give the intelligence. Dadami buddhiyagam tam. Okay? So today, thank you, we covered 3 qualities: vigor, tejas, forgiveness, kshama, and fortitude, dhriti. The next week we'll have 3 qualities: cleanliness, freedom from envy, and freedom from passion for honor. 3 qualities are left out of 26. The next week, and after that we'll do pride and envy. Better to do after that. I want to complete this, otherwise it's been pending for too long. We'll complete 3 verses, and the following week we'll take up the more detail of pride and envy. I'll see if I can get some kind of presentation on that. It'll be good. I can prepare something, put together some stuff. Alright? Satish, you had something to say? Did I miss anyone? I didn't do it deliberately, but if I missed somebody. No worries then. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Samveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. So thanks to